How about your boobs? What are those like?
That I understand, but the P word right off the shoot. I mean, wow.
Oh, we wanted to sound like grown-ups.
Oh, that's all right.
That's how grown-ups talk.
Yeah.
I guess that was the lack of a male influence around it. That's what he thought guys talk like.
Not the kind of parents that believe in Santa Claus. They don't talk like that.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes to this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Merry Christmas.
And Gene Popogiggio Lyons.
You're fatter this year.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS type rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of the podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. We just finished that. That being said, Big D, the holiday lights are around in your neighborhood. You might have a couple of trees or menorahs up in your living room, and Christmas is in the air. People are shopping. I have done none of my shopping, and this episode is our annual Shat the Movies, Shatty Christmas, Shatty Holiday Season episode.
Yes, this actually comes out the day before Christmas. So this is amazingly our 3rd annual Shat on Christmas.
Wow.
And our 9th Christmas movie. So this is amazing. So happy holidays, everybody. And I hope you're with your family and having some fun today.
Are we winning or losing the war on Christmas? Because if this is our 9th movie, it feels like we're losing.
I mean, the fact that Big D didn't know the day before Christmas is called Christmas Eve indicates that we might be losing this war.
That's at night. That's the night before Christmas, not the day.
Oh, there's Christmas Eve. You wake up on Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve all day, even though it has the word Eve, which means evening. It's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve day.
And now you just boxed yourself in. You got 6 fewer hours to release this podcast.
Very true.
But we are taking a departure from what we have been doing, which has been really a Christmas miracle all year long, where people have been sending in their support for the podcast and doing commissions. They want to hear their favorite movies. But this is a throwback episode where we are actually taking a voted on, a socialistic approach to our episodes where everyone got a say in it. And it's back to what we say up front, where we allow people to vote on 6 movie choices. And unfortunately, because we've been doing the commissions for so long, some of the movies we've done that were on the list.
Well, that happened just because we did Brody's movie, Nightmare Before Christmas. But the rest of these, I gotta tell you, we've done 9 Christmas movies. The rest of the Christmas movies, they're starting to run real thin on quality. So I don't know what we're going to do next week.
Oh, but that's the beauty of Christmas. There's an entire channel dedicated to a month long of shitty movies.
Okay, well, then in this year's vote, the 2019 voting for Best Christmas Movie was in last place, Jack Frost, Ernest Saves Christmas, The Ref, The Muppet Christmas Carol, A Nightmare Before Christmas, and the winner by far, even though we asked people to vote for Brody, was the 1994 The Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus is a 1994 American Christmas fantasy family comedy drama film written by Leo Benvenuti and Steve Rudnick and stars Tim Allen as Scott Calvin, a ordinary man who accidentally causes Santa Claus to fall from his roof on Christmas Eve. When he and his young son Charlie finish St. Nick's trip and deliveries, they go to the North Pole, where Scott learns that he must become the new Santa and convince those that he loves that he is indeed Santa Claus. The film received generally positive reviews from the critics, and it was followed by 2 sequels, The Santa Claus 2 and The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. In comparison to the original, the sequels each did decline in critical favor. However, the Santa Claus 1 grossed over $144 million in the US and Canadian box offices and over $189 million worldwide, making it a certified box office hit. The film has since gone on to become a Christmas classic. In fact, Freeform and AMC have played the film during the holiday season with record ratings. It did win the coveted 1995 People's Choice Awards for Favorite Comedy Motion Picture. Before we dive into the review, we always ask the question, where were you? What are your memories of the Santa Claus? We'll start with you, Big D.
So I said last week that I'm a fan favorite of the 1960s animated. So anything in the 90s, generally, I hadn't really seen. I think the last movie I saw in the theaters was A Christmas Story. So this one I had not seen. I'm not a big fan of Tim Allen. I never watched a single episode of Home Improvement. And until Galaxy Quest, revisiting that, did I kind of start to enjoy him. So yesterday was the first time I'd ever seen this movie.
What about you, Gene? Have you ever seen the Santa Claus? You seem like a Tim Allen fan.
Nah, same as Big D, with the exception of Galaxy Quest. I've never been able to stand Tim Allen. I really, really hated Home Improvement. It was just like the corniest TV show I could think of. Never watched any other Tim Allen movies. And nothing about the Santa Claus, from the premise to the marketing to the cast, with the exception of Judge Reinhold, made me want to watch this movie. So prior to this week, I never had.
You know, I too, like you boys, I had never been like a huge Tim Allen fan. Like, I liked him in properties where you knew it was like the voice of Tim Allen. Like, I really liked him in Toy Story is what I'm saying. But I was not like you. I was not a Home Improvement fan. And I remember when this movie was released in theaters, it was as he was trying to transition from that TV role to like movies. And like most comedic actors, like you think of Will Ferrell, they went to a Christmas movie first. And I remember, again, thinking to myself over that holiday season when it happened, I think it was it was 94. It was like a huge hit. Like, people were talking about it. So as I rented it as soon as it hit and graced the shelves of my local Blockbuster, and if memory serves me correct, I loved it. Of course, my dad, who passed away last year, he loved Tim Allen. He would always do the and he loved Home Improvement. But because I didn't live with him full time, I never, like, that never seeped into my brain. I was kind of more of a Seinfeld guy. But I can't help feel nostalgic when I watch this movie and I think back to the Santa Claus, because as we'll get into it, it really tells a story that a young Roger Roper could identify with. With that being said, Big D, play the trailer.
Dad, I heard a clatter.
Somebody's on the roof.
Maybe it's Santa.
Not now, Charlie.
This Christmas, Scott Calvin's getting into the spirit the only way he can.
Hey, you!
By accident.
If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do.
It is Santa. You killed him.
Did not.
Check out Santa's sleigh.
When you put on the suit, you fell subject to the Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus? What does that mean?
It means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
Ha!
Santa, how come your clothes are so baggy?
Do you want this doll or not? Go back to sleep. I shave in the morning, in the afternoon, I look like this.
Oh my God.
Calvin, your weight. What happened? Bee sting. What, you put on a little weight? Does this look like a little weight to you?
You look distressed.
I'm way past distress. I'm talking to an elf.
He's not Santa.
Oh my God.
He is too, Santa! Wait, I'm not done.
Fax me.
This is our perpetrator. This one's not going to be easy to find.
Won't the bright red suit and beard give him away?
Who's down there?
Santa, you're fatter this year.
Have a piece of fruit, for God's sake.
This holiday season,
Incoming!
Tim Allen is giving till it hurts.
Johnny, naughty. Gary, nice. Veronica, very nice.
The Santa Claus.
You're a 1,200-year-old elf? You look pretty good for your age.
Thanks, but I'm seeing someone in wrapping.
Scott Calvin, a successful toy salesman, prepares to spend his Christmas Eve with his son, Charlie. Scott wants Charlie to maintain his belief in Santa Claus despite not believing it himself. Scott's former wife, Laura, and her psychiatrist husband, Dr. Neil Miller, both stopped believing in Santa at a young age and feel that Charlie needs to do so as well. After Scott reads The Night Before Christmas to Charlie and tucks him into bed, Santa's sleigh lands on the roof and wakes Charlie. Charlie then wakes up Scott, who hears Santa's footsteps on the roof, and it assumes it is an intruder.
So I had my misgivings about this movie based strictly on the cover art alone was enough to turn me off. The movie starts out and it immediately gets on my bad side by reminding me that stereotypes qualified as comedy in 1994. That's all you had to do to make a comedy movie. You're like, just look at these people. Haven't you seen something like that before? So you got the boss hooking up with the secretary at the company party. And then I was like, oh, look, there's a black woman in a respectable role in her business. And she's immediately overshadowed by her mansplaining male counterpart. You got dads who can't cook. Like, it's like, the dad's going to try to cook. Oh, he set the turkey on fire. Guess we'll go to Denny's. It's like all these jokes are just so fucking tired and stupid. I immediately felt like I just started swimming across the English Channel of comedy and could not turn back.
But was that actually a product placement? Was that a tie-in for Denny's? I mean, because they made Denny's look like shit. It's bad. They're out of everything on the menu. They don't have chocolate milk, eggnog. They don't have hot apple pie. Most of the customers in that restaurant look depressed, except for, it looks like a corporate party by the Hatsutashi company, or all the Japanese guys when they walk in. But every other customer is a single dad with sad kids. Charlie even says, I don't want to eat here. Do you think Denny's was happy with this product tie-in?
You know, fuck Charlie, because I was a kid in the 90s and I would have bit my own arm off to go to fucking Denny's. I miss the 90s when you had no dining out options. Like, a trip to Denny's felt special. Nothing was automated. You were at the mercy of Judy, the waitress. Like, you ate what she gave you. And I felt so special when I was a kid and I can go to a place and sit down and have somebody hand me a menu and I could pick whatever I wanted. Charlie's a spoiled little shit.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie is a spoiled brat. Like, again, I lived this life. I lived going with my dad to restaurants. Like, the dad didn't cook on Christmas Eve. Like, either we would go to like my grandmother's house or like he would take me to a place like Denny's. And it would make me happy. You know why? Because you're fucking hanging out with your dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, like, who cares?
I didn't have a dad.
but Big D, I got to ask you, as the only dad on the podcast, is this the ghost of your future past, living in a townhome, driving a 96 Ford Taurus, paying 1,000 months in child support while your ex is raising your daughter not to believe in Santa Claus?
Oh my God. I think this is any parent's nightmare. I mean, all of it was just a disaster. You think he's making it. He's in charge of the Midwest accounts. He's been selling, Do It All Dolly or whatever hell that toy was called. And he's driving a Ford Taurus and he's living at that place. I was like, oh my God, please. And then to have to deal with Neil and my ex-wife. This is a nightmare. I think anyone would fucking think this is a nightmare.
Yeah, Raj, I don't know which of those is the worst. Like, driving the 96 Ford Taurus, paying $1,000 a month in child support, or having your ex raise your daughter not to believe in Santa. Like, if I had to choose one, I don't know which way I would go. But I started feeling myself siding with Tim Allen. And early in the movie, I thought that they were going to try to make him seem like a shitty guy, like they do in the typical Christmas movie, right? Dad's kind of a dick or whatever. But they make him a sympathetic character pretty early on. And I'm like, how are they doing that? How are they making Scott likable? And then I realized the key to a Tim Allen movie is to make everyone else exponentially less likable so that Tim Allen is likable by comparison. So Charlie's mom, she's irritating. Judge Reinhold, who I normally really like, he's profoundly foppish. And Charlie is a god-awful child actor whose crimes against cinema deserve the cruel fate of having to be in all 3 Santa Claus movies.
You can definitely tell like a divorced guy wrote the script. Or someone close to like a divorced guy wrote the script. Although it is kind of fun to see him doing his sarcastic bad Santa where he's throwing the Christmas presents and he's telling the kids to go back to sleep. But again, I had to remember at this time, I had to think back to 1994 and this was the era of Tim Allen. At the same week, The Santa Claus was #1 at the box office, which surprised everyone. He was America's #1 rated television show, and his book, Don't Stand Too Close to a Naked Man, was also #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. Like, his comedy was kind of dickish, sarcastic, but everyone had kind of known him as that American dad, if you will, that everyone aspired to be. And so this was kind of a different Tim Allen.
Yeah, and his role as Scott is not exactly pushing the envelope at all, but there was one little slip up in the movies that did not make it to the home version, and it was Tim Allen taking it a little bit too far. So toward the beginning of the film in the theaters, there's a brief exchange between Scott and his ex-wife, Laura, and Laura hands Scott a piece of paper, and it's got her new guy, Neil's mother's phone number on it. And Scott looks at the piece of paper and he goes, 1-800-SPANK-ME. I know that number. Well, they've removed that from all home releases of the film, starting with the 1999 DVD release, because in 1996, some kid was watching the movie, picked up the phone, and called 1-800-SPANK-ME, which is an actual working sex line number, and ran up a phone bill of $400.
So does that mean somebody actually talked to the kid? Like, for $400, you got to have a conversation, don't you?
Yeah, you give that sex worker on the other line, you give her a raise. That she would, like, I bet she just talked to the kid. Like, people think, oh, she wasn't having phone sex with a kid. She's like, I'm gonna really rack up the numbers here because the kid's not masturbating in 3 minutes and then hanging up the phone. We're gonna have a full on conversation.
So I don't know if you guys went on bulletin board systems when you were younger with your computer. So this is like kind of pre-internet-ish. When we didn't have home access to the internet, you could actually get a listing of bulletin board systems, and you put your modem, to actually take your phone receiver, put it on the modem, call up with your, 1200 baud modem, whatever. We had a local BBS that had a software that you could download, and it would generate credit card numbers and expiration codes, and you could actually call in on the phone and use the touchpad, because that's how sex lines worked back then, right? You would actually punch in your credit card number, and then we would do that, and it would give us access. And it was somebody's credit card number, but it wasn't fucking mine. And so we would actually call in and talk to the phone sex ladies. I was like 12. They definitely would have known. I mean, I had a mustache at the time, but my voice hadn't really changed yet.
What kind of things did you talk to? I mean, you can't just end the story there. Like, what
did you talk to them about?
Well, I mean, dude, at the time we didn't really like have porn and stuff. I'd be like, hey, tell me about your pussy.
Oh my God. That's
and then they would tell you. And I'd be like, how about your boobs? What are those like?
That I understand, but the P word right out the chute. I mean, wow.
Well, we wanted to sound like grown-ups.
Oh, that's all right.
It's a grown-ups talk.
Yeah.
I guess that was the lack of a male influence around it. That's what he thought guys talk like.
Not the kind of parents that believe in Santa Claus. They don't talk like that.
If only my dad had lived to take me to Denny's.
Oh, God. You talk about, Roger, about my nightmare of what could be as a single dad. And that whole conversation between Laura and Scott debating, well, did you tell him about Santa Claus doesn't exist? Well, I think we should jointly make those decisions. That hit home for me. My wife, Vanessa, she's a Seventh-day Adventist, so she doesn't celebrate Christmas. So as an adult, for me, it really was never important. Then Emma came along. She was born, and I've always been respectful of my wife's religious belief. So first year, we didn't do anything. Second year, she was like, why don't you get a tree? She showed a little flexibility. We got a tree. Still wasn't a big Christmas, but I always felt like her and I together would make that decision if we were going to celebrate Christmas. So this year, we have Christmas, we have lights, we have decorations around the house. I can't imagine what it would be like to have a differing opinion than your spouse and having to negotiate that to where the other person is just like, I don't care what you believe in. I'm going to do what I want. I think that would be so hard.
I had the opposite experience with my mom. So my mom really wanted me to celebrate Christmas as a kid because she was like, look at all the other kids are doing Christmas. I don't want my son to feel left out.
Yeah.
But I was very proud of my Kurdish heritage, and I had very anti-Christian beliefs as a kid. So I adamantly refused to celebrate Christmas. I was like, fuck that. Get the tree out of here. I don't want stockings. I don't want gifts. I was a really stubborn little shit. And as an adult, I came to recognize that Christmas isn't about, I'm sorry, guys, we got to take the Christ out of Christmas because it's not about Jesus. I'm sorry. It is an American secular holiday of giving. And now as an adult, once I see it through that prism, I can't get enough of it. It's why I like this movie. Like, I love how people treat each other over the holidays, that aesthetic of the trees and the lights and all the cozy things and seeing your friends and getting drunk. It's just the best.
I totally agree. I think it's a shared common experience. The holiday is about family. It's about getting together. And Vanessa and I agreed. We said we didn't want Emma to grow up feeling like she's missing out and then have to explain to the other kids why she doesn't celebrate Christmas. I think it's the only time of the year that people are almost forced to be nice to each other. Even if it's fake, for that little window of time, everybody has something in common, something to talk about. And then we go right back to hating each other January 2nd.
Yeah, well, it starts with hate with Black Friday, and then it kind of cools down on the 25th, and then it ramps right back up for New Year's Eve.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like, I think Black Friday is on its way out, man. Like,
I think so too.
I don't think people give a shit anymore.
No, it's the Cyber Week. You get the better deals anyway.
Hell yeah.
Now, and I think it's easier for the stores.
No, I mean, it used to be if you could go get like a 70-inch TV for $500, people would be like, I'm going. I was at Target Black Friday, like late in the day. There was tons of TVs. You can get like an 80-inch 4K TV for like $300. What the fuck is the point of me to go out there and fight the crowds?
Also, why would you go to a store when you can just go to shatthemovies.com/shop and buy any merchandise you want?
Yeah.
And use the discount code SHAT20 for 20% off your purchases.
Rushing outside, Scott startles Santa, causing him to lose his balance and fall off the roof. Persuaded by Charlie, Scott puts on the Santa suit and spends the rest of the night delivering gifts before the reindeer take them to the North Pole. Once they arrive, Bernard, the head elf, explains to Scott that because he put on the suit, he is subjected to a legal technicality known as the Santa Clause, meaning that he has agreed to accept all of Santa's duties and responsibilities, and then gives him 11 months to get his affairs in order before reporting back up to the North Pole on Thanksgiving. The next morning, he wakes up in his own bed, causing him to believe it was all a dream.
So I think in our review of this film, we're going to get into how a lot of things that we saw on screen didn't look real in the least. The reindeer definitely don't look real. And the flight scenes are even less believable. But I did want to give kudos to the props team for kind of making reindeer with like very human faces. Like they were very expressive reindeer. And honestly, when I think back on the movie, I think Comet was the most talented actor on screen.
Well, the CGI, again, you forget how bad it was. Like when you go to like Avengers Endgame, you're like, I don't believe that's all CGI. No. When they tried to make simple CGI in 1994, it looked horrible, especially now today, like on 4K. I had to rent this on Amazon Prime, and it looks bad. It's like Hallmark movie bad.
It is. And I don't want people to be like, oh, well, this was 1994. Jurassic Park came out the year before this. T2 came out 3 years before this. This CGI looks like they just did not care. It was shockingly bad. I mean, the budget was enough that you didn't have to make it look laughable.
I feel like they were like, let's invest in all these animatronic, real expressive prop reindeers. Hey, we got to make them fly. What? How much do we have left in the budget? $15? Fuck it, make it work. But did you guys know that Tim Allen actually was not the first choice for this movie? The role of Scott Calvin was actually written for Bill Murray, and I think you can see that a little bit because it has a Scrooged flavor to it. When he passed on it, it was then offered to Chevy Chase, who stars in one of our other favorite Christmas movies, A Christmas Vacation, but due to scheduling conflicts, he was unable and had to drop out. Do you think this movie would have been better with either of those two?
I can't believe I'm saying this because I am a big Bill Murray fan, but no. I think both of those guys have too much character. Tim Allen is a little more difficult to impersonate, if you know what I mean. Like if I were just doing a Tim Allen impersonation, other than going, oh, like you wouldn't know who I was. So he can slip into the Santa Claus role. But Bill Murray as Santa Claus, he's going to be doing Bill Murray things. And Chevy Chase is just far too cynical and too much of a smartass. So I think Tim Allen was a perfect fit.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
Where Tim Allen has that little bit of charisma, Chevy Chase at least 1994 Chevy Chase, probably would have come across as just an asshole and would have been unlikable. One thing Tim Allen does, though, is I hate it when iconic TV actors make that jump from that character that they're known for into a movie. Like you said, when he goes, "Har, har, 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 har," and he does that one time. The one thing I did like is in the background when he's being shown the different, like the elf toy making area, as Bernard is kind of walking through it, he picks up a tool belt and puts it around his waist. And I thought that was kind of clever.
Clever.
I thought that was kind of fun. Like, if you're going to do that, at least do something in the background where it's not the joke. It's just kind of background fare.
Do you think anybody at the time was like, whoa, wow, that's a tool belt just like he wears on that show?
I exactly do.
The Marquis says Dr. M.
Dude, when inevitably you go see, was it Rise of Skywalker? And one of the characters goes, "I've got a bad feeling about this." Fanboys are going to pee themselves in their Chewbacca onesies. But the fun thing I like about this movie, and obviously it's in the title, is the Santa Claus. Like, again, it's kind of a pun. It's also like a legal definition. It's how it kind of explains how people become Santa Claus. But do you think that this was the only Santa? The one that falls off the roof, I mean. Like, do you think that he wanted this to happen? And here's my reason. Here's the reason I ask. When he falls off the roof, it kind of looks like, if I've been Santa Claus, and I've been Santa Claus for a while, I know how to stand on roofs. When he lands, it's like almost like Santa committed suicide because he waves goodbye. I think he wanted his own escape clause. I think he grew tired of Miss Claus back at the North Pole. They weren't as merry. Maybe he was having an affair with Judy, one of his elves, and he needed to get out of it before he got caught.
Yeah, Raj, for a while, I didn't realize that Santa had died. I was wondering if he just like took off and left the suit behind, kind of like a headless horseman sort of situation. So like he tricks you into putting on the suit and then he runs away to live a normal life. I got the impression that this was not the first Santa, because also everyone's pretty nonchalant about it.
Okay. So this happens all the time.
But also, like, he supposedly has done this for a while. He's not quiet in the least. You don't think he has non-slip boots? Is this the first time somebody's yelled like, "Hey, you up on my roof"? He acts, maybe this was a brand new Santa. And that brought up a question to me that I've kind of felt a little bit shocked. So now Santa has died. Presumably he's been with these elves for a while, right? But none of them seem like they're anything but happy. When Tim Allen comes back, they're singing, "Oh, here comes the new Santa Claus." Nobody's upset. Bernard, the head elf, he doesn't even blink when Scott says, "Hey, old Santa fell off the roof. He's dead." How bad of a boss must Santa have been? Judy the elf, you talked about her, Raj. She looks like a 9-year-old girl, and she thinks the new Santa's hitting on her. Was this common for Santa? Because these elves give zero fucks. They just don't care.
Well, I always find it disturbing when the elves are played by kids. You know what I mean? Because they just don't get, kids don't walk right. Everything just looks awkward. And like you said, I have my suspicions about the old Santa. I've got a feeling he was a bit off. You know, he's got a puppet show, marionettes. He has slave elves doing puppet shows in bed for him. It seems like Judy, came in. You want your hot chocolate, Santa?
No.
You like it extra chocolatey?
I thought it was like the Neverland Ranch. I thought it was like Michael Jackson's bedroom. It looked, looked a little twisted. It did. And then I kept thinking, well, maybe was old Santa like Jeff Bezos? Is this like an Amazon warehouse?
No, I think the elves have the power in this relationship. I think they trick unsuspecting humans to play their little game of, we're going to burn you out one day a week. We're going to make you fat and you belong to us. And when we want you out, we want you out. Like, I think they're the ones that are controlling it because they don't give a fuck about them. Santa's their slave. They're like, we made all these toys. You got to go out in their delivery. Santa's their UPS driver.
That's a good point, because later in the movie, when they start developing new technologies for Santa, they come up with like a fire retardant suit. What the fuck? You never thought of that before, elves? Santa comes down a chimney. That's his primary entrance. Why don't you have non-slip boots?
So you think Bernard like greased up his boots that night before he went out?
Yeah. I think Bernard's gunning for that top position because he keeps asking. He's like, yeah, but how do I not fall off the roof?
Yeah.
He's like, we made all these other things. He's like, yeah, but what about the roof thing?
Yeah, he doesn't seem too bent out of shape. Maybe he's trying to run through enough and there's like some other clause that we don't know about where Bernard can be in charge. But the other thing that came into my mind is Mrs. Claus. Now, thanks to the Santa Claus 2, we know there actually is a Mrs. Claus.
There is.
That causes Santa. You have to get married. It's so important that if there is not a Mrs. Claus, Christmas literally ceases to exist. So Roof Santa that Scott kills, basically, it's a matter of hours before he's at the North Pole. Where is the bereaving Miss Claus? Where is she? Why wasn't she mourning her husband? Does she disappear and die with Santa too?
No, here's my hypothesis. I think he took over for a previous Santa, did it for a year. Then they came to him and they were like, hey, or however long the time period is. And he was like, listen, I just don't want to get married. Like, I'll be Santa Claus. I'll do this thing once a year with all you little scary children elves and your puppet shows, but I am not getting married. In fact, I'll fall off a roof before I got to get married. That would be me. That would be me if I'd be like, yeah, I'm not committing. I just can't do it. I'm just going to fall off and I'm going to pay the price.
Oh, yeah. Where are you spending your Christmas, Raj?
Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Over the course of the following year, strange things begin to happen to Scott. He acquires an intense craving for sweets, especially milk and cookies, and begins to gain a large amount of weight. His beard starts fully growing back immediately after shaving, and his hair quickly turns to gray and then white. He also begins to recount naughty and nice children by name after getting his list of children in the mail.
So Scott's coworkers, they are surprisingly comfortable with fat shaming him. Scott works, it's a big toy manufacturer, so I assume that there's an HR department. And I can understand that they think it's inappropriate that he shows up to whatever senior leadership meeting this was, looking like Roger Roper in sweatpants and a sweat top. But to start asking him about his weight gain, it is inappropriate. Maybe he did get stung by a bee, Susan. What the fuck? What is it to you? But his boss then fucking drops the bomb on him. Go see a doctor or dietitian. Just get some help. You're starting to look by the Pillsbury Doughboy. This is a lawsuit. This has to be a lawsuit.
So to clarify for listeners here, Big D is not calling Raj fat like Santa.
No.
He's saying that he showed up in sweats like Roger often will wear during his 5 days at a time at home.
Yes, very correct. Thank you.
They're not sweats. They're like basketball shorts or
athleisure.
Athleisure. That's right.
Yeah. Well, Big D, speaking of HR, I became a copy chief at a newspaper at a very young age. I was 23 years old. And immediately they sent me to HR manager training. And this was in California. And their HR rules are super strict. So I went through like a 2-day long course where they walk through everything you're not allowed to do. And you'd be surprised at some of the things you're not allowed to do. To this day, I refuse to touch coworkers. So if somebody tries to like hug me at the office, I'm like, no, don't touch me. I also refuse to comment on anyone's appearance in the workplace. I won't even compliment the way anyone looks because of something called reverse sexual harassment. The idea being that if I were to say, Big D, you look nice, and Raj, you look nice, and then there's another person say the King Bee, and I don't say it to him, then he could make the case legally that he was denied promotions and not given the special treatment you guys were because I didn't like the way he looked. That's why I didn't compliment him. So anyway, you're absolutely right, Big D. These coworkers are way out of line.
Who was your last girlfriend? Where does she work? Do you still work with your ex-girlfriend?
I work with my ex-girlfriend, yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. I just wanted to clarify.
Never touched her in the workplace.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, this is clearly before there were HR departments, or this is maybe a Midwest company, we're supposed to believe. So it's obviously
okay,
not.
then.
It's not. Well, I'm just saying that the flyovers, they're always the last to get these. But like this was obviously business meetings before PowerPoint. Seriously, I work for a tech company with about 250 people, so it's small by comparison, and everyone is under 30 and for the most part gorgeous and in shape, and like that's their thing. In fact, as a result of this healthy company, it makes other people like over the age of 30 feel like Shrek when they walk around or go to the home office. Like I always feel like there's a battle, and if you don't look a certain way, like it really affects people. And I feel like that's more like that young tech. You got to have the styling. You got to look good. You can't be 35.
I think part of the reason the three of us like this movie more than we should is that we can really identify
That's right.
with Scott here, because I went through these changes like 2 years ago. Like I was like, oh, wow, my facial hair is growing in faster. It's going kind of gray. I'm gaining weight a little more easily. But honestly, we spoke about how bad the special effects were. The Santa Claus does a decent job, considering it's 1994, of turning Scott's weight gain into a point of humor without making it malicious toward bigger people. The only thing that I thought was really odd is when he gets on the scale and it's like, look how fat he got, but he's less than 200 pounds. I was like, wait a second.
Well, yeah, he's European obese is what you're saying. He's not American. Like, you're getting right swipes on Tinder if you're 191 pounds.
Oh, he's fit Santa. You kidding me? And if he were today, that'd be like Rip Santa.
Yeah, that'd be looking good. But what I like about it, though, Gene, is he does look more jolly and cheerful. And so it does come across as more like engaging. Also, like when he goes to the doctors, the problem is not his health. He's doing good. The problem is everything that's happening around him and with Charlie.
Now that we're talking about Charlie, he is fucking absolutely useless at keeping a secret. He tells everyone from the first second, oh, we went up to the North Pole. Oh, we did this. Oh, we did that. He can see. He's old enough to know that everyone's looking at his dad like he's crazy, like it's causing a problem. Why can't you just keep it quiet? Why doesn't Santa have some kind of like the Men in Black? Like you can wave at them and make them forget? Because he's not only ruining Scott's life, he's blowing up Santa's secret fucking identity and how it works to the entire world.
Do you do this with Emma too? When she's like, "That's my dad, Big D." Shh. No, we don't call me that in public. Big D, I feel like I should call Child Protective Services. You feel it's okay to wipe your child's memory?
If I was Kris Kringle, yeah, and this was going to cause some big problem, maybe end Christmas for millions of kids. I'm not saying injure them. This isn't going to cause brain damage. Like just erase a couple hours. It's 20 minutes.
Do you remember that Black Mirror episode where like the parent put the implant chip into their child and put the filter on it? And I think you could also like control her memories or whatnot. Would you do that? Would you do that with Emma?
If I was Santa?
No,
and just going to lose custody? Maybe. Maybe.
No, just you in general right now.
No,
okay.
No, never.
Right.
I wouldn't play with that.
Well, after an incident in which several children approached Scott to ask for Christmas presents, Laura and Neil believe he is deliberately trying to confuse Charlie and successfully petition a judge to suspend Scott's visitation rights. Devastated, Scott goes to Laura and Neil's house on Thanksgiving, desperate to help his father realize how important he is. Charlie shows Scott a magical snow globe that Bernard had given to him, finally convincing Scott that he is indeed Santa. After Scott asks Laura and Neil a minute to talk to Charlie alone, Bernard appears and transports him and Charlie to the North Pole. Believing that Scott has kidnapped Charlie, Laura and Neil contact the police.
So Scott's in the park, and these kids just start lining up. They start sitting on his lap. Where are these kids' parents? When I go to the park with Emma, I have to be actively engaged with her, push her on the swing, follow her around in case she's going to fall. She's 4 years old. These kids are a little bit older, but if Emma tried to sit in a stranger's lap, or some stranger was like, "Hey, come here, little girl, sit on my lap. You tell me what you want for Christmas." You'd better call the police because we're going to need a new fucking Santa real quick.
See, Big D, I think you'll understand this more as Emma gets a little bit older and starts playing sports. Sports parents they're like different. It's like a safe bubble where parents just let their kids hang on any adult around. So my nephew plays baseball. My niece and nephew both played soccer. When I would go to watch them play, little kids would like come and try to sit on my lap while I was sitting on a camping chair. And I'd be like, no, you can't do that. Or they come sit on the blanket with me. Can I pet your dog? I'm like, no, please get away. There have been times where they're like, will you drive us for ice cream? I'm like, I don't know who you are. Where are your parents? Get the hell away from me. And I think what it is, like parents are just, they have to have a safe space for the kids where they could just stop watching them for 2 seconds. And that safe space becomes soccer games.
So you think that all of these kids, their parents had other children in the soccer game?
Oh, yeah. That's how parents work. They have like 3 or 4 of them. One of them is playing. Okay. The other one's just running around on the sidelines being dickheads.
Did you guys also pick up, somebody today tweeted a picture that of the line of kids, there's 1 or 2 elves in the mix. So I'm wondering if the elves were somehow setting up, or maybe they were recruiting kids to put Scott into this mindset. Did either of you see that?
Yeah, I think the elves, there's an ulterior motive here. And I think they're trying to gaslight Scott into believing that he's Santa Claus.
No, they're trying to remove the only hurdle to Scott becoming Santa.
That's right.
His kid is the only thing that would stop him from giving up his life.
Trying to break him apart.
If the elves come down, they gaslight him. They do it because they see Neil and Laura coming. They know they're overly concerned, right?
Yeah.
So they're gaslighting fucking Scott.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those little shits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're nefarious. You can't believe a fucking elf, especially when they're played by kids. Because kids look weird. They always look like they got to pee when they're on screen, when they're walking.
But more just to talk about Neil and Laura, right? Why are they so concerned with Scott that he just cares about Christmas? They're acting like this is the worst possible thing that Scott could be doing. He's not exposing him to like porn. He's not doing drugs around him, right?
He's not.
There's a lot of worse things that Scott could be doing. I don't think this is grounds for Laura to challenge his custody. Why is it so bad?
Big D, you got to remember, this is 1994. Every movie, or at least comedies that were made in 94, you had to have a couple characters that represented the new wave intellectual elite. So like the neighbors on Christmas Vacation, you had to have the people that had let go of God and they let go of Christmas. They get blunt cut bangs and bob haircuts, and they wear new wave clothing, and they believe in like psychology and science. Damn them, right? This was a wave of 90s anti-intellectualism, and so they had to have the parents be that way.
I think every Christmas movie has an anti-intellectualism spin to it. I think it has to, except for Scrooged. Scrooge is pretty good.
Yeah, it's flipped on its head.
Aha. But did you guys like the character of Bernard, the angry Jewish elf?
I sort of liked him when I watched the movie. I liked him a lot more when I found out what happened to him as an adult. So Bernard is played by an actor named David Krumholtz, who was actually in another movie that we covered on Shat The Movies, 10 Things I Hate About You. But as he became an adult, his career kind of took a raunchy turn. So in Sausage Party, he voiced Lavash, which, interesting fact about Lavash, he actually had pubes on him, but they had to get rid of the pubes in the final cut of the movie because it was too graphic, I guess. But later, David Krumholtz went on to be in The Deuce. I don't know if you guys have watched The Deuce on HBO. It's about the porn industry in the 70s. He plays a porn director. And if you look back at him in 1994, you can see the beginnings of this character. He's kind of got a porn director vibe to him.
I actually thought you really needed him. You need a no-nonsense elf who's matter of fact. You got to whip new Santa into shape. But now thinking about it in the light of what Roger has been saying, Bernard might be planning some whole coup in the background, right? They tell Santa come back in 11 months. How about you give Santa a fucking like an instruction manual? Give him what to expect, what to do, what will happen. Bernard does not set him up for success. And I think that's because you're right. Bernard has some ulterior motives.
Yeah,
he either wants to end Christmas or he wants to become the leader of Christmas.
Yeah, he's the Fidel Castro of the elves. He's trying to rise up a socialist revolution where everyone follows him. No longer will we take our orders from the man in the red suit. I will lead the people's revolution, and the fellow elves against the oligarchy and the capitalists.
Rod, you're going to go with Fidel Castro? You of all people. You've got an elf named Bernard.
Well, I got to go Bernie Sanders, don't I? He is the Bernie Sanders
it's not
of elves.
Me, it's us.
That's right.
This is an elf revolution. It's a movement.
I was told 70 episodes I can no longer talk about politics except for my own Twitter account. So I try not to bring it up. But Bernie's not a divisive figure. People love Bernie. Even if you don't agree with him, it's hard not to like him. You know, you love him.
Oh, he'd push Santa off the fucking roof if it meant winning. He would do it.
Not at all, dude. Not at all. I tell you what, I'd like some Bernie Christmas. But inevitably in every 90s movie, I guess it's because it was the pre-9/11. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, pre-9/11, everything was a cop joke. Every cop was fat, eating donuts. They had to do that thing where they motion to keep people on the phone. Everyone's bald. Now, if you look at cops in movies, today's cops are like, good at their jobs and all that. At least they're depicted as that, or they're crooked cops. But this back then, there was like, lovable cop who, gets tied up and all that kind of stuff. The thing that I was interested in is like, who drew the neighborhood on the chalkboard in the background? You know what I mean? Like, they're really hunting after the Santa Claus. They're trapping every Santa. If this happened in the same world as Home Alone, another movie we forgot that we've done that's a Christmas movie is Home Alone. If this was happening, the Wet Bandits would be making out because the cops are only focused on catching Scott Calvin.
A better question is, why are they doing a lineup of Santas in the Santa suit?
Right.
Lauren knows what her husband looks like, right? Take the mask off. Why is there like a 5'2" black guy? That's not Scott. I know what my husband looks like.
They have a picture of him.
Because they're cops.
Right. Yeah, they're bad at their jobs. That was pre-9/11 cop tropes. Well, at the North Pole, Scott sets out to deliver the gifts with Charlie in tow. However, upon arriving at Laura and Neil's home, Scott is arrested, and the elves send then a rescue team to help him escape from jail.
All right, guys, we've goofed on this movie a lot. I want to get back to some of the things that I really liked about it. One thing that I loved as a kid was gadgets, whether it was the Goonies or, a lot of the cartoons that I liked, Transformers, Inspector Gadget. And Santa's sleigh in this movie is pretty sweet, especially if you're a kid. It's got that hot cocoa dispenser, the cookie maker. There's a two-way radio in his hat, and that sweet-ass flame-retardant suit. Like, when he walks out in the slow-mo, I'm like, all right, I like this. Like, this 007 treatment was a fun way to get creative. I felt like this hit where Nightmare Before Christmas didn't, because that was creative to no end. This is creative and fun.
Gene, you were talking about how you looked at this as a kid. I only looked at this like an adult. I'm like, oh my God, where's the seatbelts? There's no seatbelts. I'm like, Charlie's going to fall out. I'm like, a hot chocolate dispenser. That's going to be a mess. If he makes a hard turn, there's going to be hot cocoa everywhere. I was that guy. What happened?
Where's your inner Sandy? Bring her back.
No kidding.
Sandy's
coming back a bit.
But did you at least like the elves? The effective liberating flight squad? Like, I wanted to shit on those guys, but the kid in me was totally into it. They had those sweet jetpacks and the acrobatics, yes. And they did that cool like fly out from the North Pole. Like, 10-year-old Gene would have been obsessed with these guys.
I think maybe, yeah, like you said, a younger Raj would have enjoyed this. Looking back now at it, it's like you obviously could tell like they're on wires, and like the acrobatics are kind of stupid and make no sense whatsoever because it doesn't bring it. But Gene, if you liked elves, you got to check out Prep and Landing, which is Disney's animated shorts. I think they're like 30-minute specials. Big D, you would like this because it's like right up your alley. It's like a throwback to old school Christmas animation, but with like that modern tech. If you like this, you would like Prep and Landing. I highly recommend it. But like, again, it's the technology matched with that Santa magic. Like, you have the chimneys opening up. You have the bag that floats in the air.
So here's the strange thing. I'm okay with the fact that you could tell these were kids on wires. That they were like, I'm going to fly straight, but yet they were turning sideways. Their motion didn't match. I was okay with that. But at the same point, then, the other side of my brain is raising questions. Like, okay, like, where do people think these gifts come from? I couldn't let that go. In this world, Santa exists, right? But all the adults don't think he exists, which is typical. So where do the parents think that the gifts come from when the kids come up the next morning and there's tons of gifts there that they didn't buy? Wouldn't that convince them that Santa was real? Or would they think someone was keeping a secret from them? Or at least maybe there was a break-in?
I'm going to work my way back and reverse engineer from the divorce rate in America. So follow me here. About half of marriages end in divorce, right? Which means that at some point there's a breakdown in communication. People aren't seeing eye to eye. You got two parents in a lot of these households where they have the children. Each parent probably thinks the other parent splurged and bought the kid whatever bullshit is under the tree. And that's how Santa gets by.
So you think it's leading to divorce rates, or it's keeping people
yes,
together?
That's what you're saying.
No. What I'm saying is that we have an epidemic of people not communicating and working together as couples, and in that there is a lack of knowledge of what the other purchased. They're operating in their own independent spheres, and that's why Santa could slip in a gift or two.
What I'm saying is, though, if there was a big gift under the tree for Emma, and Big D's like, "Hey, Vanessa, where'd this purchase come from?" She's like, I don't know. And he's like, fuck you, you don't know. And she's like, I think Santa
I would never curse at Vanessa.
And she would never buy a Christmas gift. So
yeah.
Oh, hypothetical.
Yeah. So this is the perfect thing. So you would really be surprised. You'd be like, I don't believe you. I think she's like, no, Santa Claus brought it. That's the only logical explanation. And you're like, Santa Claus is not what we call our credit card.
Exactly. And then it'll cause a fight. It's like that kayak that one kid gets, right? That Scott delivers on the first night. I can picture them fighting over that kayak. That might lead to a divorce.
Well, I think they make an attempt to explain some of this and do it kind of in a tongue-in-cheek manner when Charlie is explaining to his stepfather, who's Judge Reinhold's character. He's explaining to Judge Neil. And he says, I think there's some sort of time continuum and the chimneys open up or one's created. That's not really what's important. What's important is that he delivers the toys. And I think when he's also flying around with Scott, he says, well, we don't do all the houses. We only do the houses where people believe in Santa, which is why I still believe in Santa. And I still hope that, I'll get an iWatch 5 under my Christmas tree this season.
Yeah, it's exactly what you need is to be more connected to electronics. It's good, Raj. What I don't understand...
I need the kayak.
What I don't understand is why Scott takes the chance of dropping off gifts at Neil and Laura's house. Because you had a couple of things going on here. One, they don't believe in Santa, so fuck that noise. Two, you know that it's a trap. You gotta know. And so Neil's an asshole. Laura doesn't believe in him. And Charlie could also just get his presents straight out of Santa's sack. There. Why are you stopping in this house and getting caught? You deserve to be arrested, Scott.
A better question is when Scott's getting broken out of jail. They say, oh, we can't go back to the house. It's under surveillance. There's one cop standing outside. There's a child that's been abducted. You had half the force in the SWAT team there. And now you've just abandoned the house?
You know what he's doing, too?
Drinking coffee?
Yeah, he's eating, drinking.
Oh, he's eating. Yeah. He spills it. He spills it, too. Don't forget. He spills it because he's
cops.
A cop. Ooh. Outsmarted by the elves. The ELFs.
Today, that cop would have shot one of the elves out of the
Yeah, he would have shot them all. Yeah. Scott returns to Laura and Neil's house and manages to convince them that he is indeed Santa and asks Charlie to spend Christmas with them as they are his family too. Laura burns the court papers banning Scott's visitation rights and tells him that he can visit Charlie anytime he wants. But before leaving, Scott gives Laura and Neil 2 Christmas presents that they never got as children, which caused their disbelief in Santa, and Scott embraces his new role as Santa, leaves with Charlie to deliver the presents. End movie.
So another one of the villains in this movie is Laura. She's telling this sob story about when she was a kid. I got like 12 gifts, but I didn't get the one I wanted, the mystery date. Boo fucking who, Laura? Maybe you didn't get that because you weren't a good kid. It's going to scar you to today. And Neil with his fucking Oscar Mayer weenie whistle, that's going to devastate you and make you hate Christmas? Both of them are just bad people. Bad people.
I just love how when he took the weenie whistle and just like and just started blowing on it. But this movie, as much as we're making light of it, it really did.
I'm loving it. I'm honestly loving it.
No, but it really did. It did feel like a small independent movie that Disney completely was not confident in thinking that it was going to do this well. And so I like that it's at least a different take, but I wonder if the movie script was originally more dark, because you can tell that there are things in this movie that could have, maybe if it was helmed by Bill Murray or maybe it wasn't produced by Disney, I think that there's something in there that could have been funny and more adult oriented.
Have either of you seen the recut trailer for Sleepless in Seattle?
No.
That they turn it into a horror movie?
Yes.
Yeah, so they show that Meg Ryan's character, Annie, that she's like a legit stalker, right? She uses her job to track down Tom Hanks just because she heard him on the radio, right? She goes outside of his house. She's uninvited. So they turn that into like a horror flick. I could see this movie easily doing the same thing. You have a demented father, right? Who's now has this weird fascination with children. He's hanging out in the park. He's putting them in his lap. His body has changed. He's let himself go. He's in that counselor's meeting, the first one, where they're talking about, hey, what did you do with Charlie last night? And he's like, we had a bowl of sugar. We did some shots of brown liquor. We played with my shotgun and field dressed a cat. Oh, and then we looked for women. And that whole police hostage call. Charlie, where are you? We're up in the North Pole, Mom. We're building sleighs. This has the makings of a horror movie.
It does, but I think we can all agree that this movie was hard to be cynical about. Like, I wanted to goof on it. I wanted to shit all over this movie. It's Tim Allen. It's the mid-90s. It's a Christmas movie. I hate the cover. But whatever Tim Allen is doing here in the final scene with Charlie in the living room at Laura and Neil's house, it's working. Like, I couldn't be cynical. I actually felt joy at the simplicity and the heartwarming optimism of this bittersweet ending. And, you know, this time of year, it's a dark time of year for a lot of us. For me, it reminds me of a painful breakup. And sometimes it's easy to feel crushed by the stress of holiday shopping and travel and finances. And we just did 9 grueling weeks of covering Watchmen. I was really stressed out. And it was nice to watch something wholesome that just felt good. Like, I was smiling while I was watching this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what our next movie is, but I've got a feeling it's going to be a return to like that stressful.
I don't know.
What
is? When you see what it is, it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a medium strong movie, Raj.
I like medium strong. Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters to give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, 0 wipes is a Yuletide blessing and coming down and seeing a feast full of turkey and stuffing and ham and presents delivered by Santa Claus on Christmas morning. It's the perfect holiday morning. A 5 wipes is being rejected by every other restaurant, and you can only go to a Denny's where they're all sold out of apple pies, and there's a homeless guy shooting up heroin in the bathroom, and you're there with your 5-year-old kid that you only get to see between the hours of 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve. So 5 wipes bad, 0 wipes good. I got really specific there, didn't I? We'll start with you, Big D. How many wipes do you give the Santa Claus?
So I have to say, I surprisingly truly enjoyed watching this movie. I thought it was going to be a hate watch, but no, I actually liked it. Tim Allen was funny in it. I'm surprised at how many of the lines, the situations that made me laugh. And like Gene, I was smiling throughout. Okay, so once I got over the normal, like we tore the movie down and we said, well, this doesn't make sense. This is a mistake. Once I let that go and said, don't overthink it. We still talked about it in the podcast, but that didn't stop me from enjoying it. It's supposed to be mindless holiday fun. It doesn't all have to be explained. And because that, all the problems we talked about, I'm not knocking the score. Everything was good holiday fun. So I think it's better than average. And I think it's better than most of the Christmas movies we've done. So I think a 2 wipe is fair. It's not great, but it did the job. I felt better after watching it.
What about you, Gene? How do you feel about the Santa Claus?
Raj, this is the very definition of an average movie. Like, it doesn't offend anyone, but it doesn't really impress anyone. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's not completely dry. The special effects aren't good, but the film is like silly enough, as Big D said, to excuse it. And Tim Allen's charming, but like the writing doesn't always hit on all cylinders. It's just an okay Christmas movie, but far better than I expected. So I'm going to split it right down the middle at 2.5 wipes.
Yeah, the Santa Claus, I agree with you both. While it shows its age in the realm of Christmas movies, especially with the bad CGI and the overuse of puppets, it's not bad. Like, it doesn't distract from some of the charming aspects of this movie. I do believe that Tim Allen makes a good Santa. I think he looks like a good Santa. They did a good job there. I really like the first half of this movie and the fact that they introduced kind of a divorced dad with a sarcastic humor, but I agree it's solidly average right down the middle. It's not bad. It's not great. I thought it would be better. I was really pulling for this movie, but I went back before I wrote this down. I just wanted to make sure that I can compare, because Christmas people love to tell us that we're wrong. It's like the Blade Runner of holiday seasons. And I compared our rankings of this movie to Christmas Vacation. And I got to ask you guys, what's in your eggnog? Because compared to the Santa Claus, Christmas Vacation is a masterpiece, and Chevy Chase is a comedic genius when stacked up to Tim Allen. I'm shocked.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say in our defense, I agree with you. A Christmas Vacation was movie number 10 that we did. So at that point, we had very little to compare it to. It would be a little revisionist history to go back and change that now. But I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with where it is. Yes, I think that's a little bit better, but I gave it the same score. But what can you do?
I stand by my 4-wipe score for Christmas Vacation. It misses as a Christmas movie. It's cynical, where Santa Claus is genuine. Like, the Santa Claus is a holiday movie, and Christmas Vacation is a Chevy Chase comedy. Like, they're completely different, and I honestly enjoyed this so much more. Interesting fact, the Santa Claus is actually 10 minutes longer than Christmas Vacation, but
it seems short.
But it feels so much shorter. Christmas Vacation drags on. Yeah. So I stand by my score here. I'm not saying I love the Santa Claus, but I enjoyed it. Christmas Vacation, I didn't like at all.
Would you guys like to see this movie remade as kind of a bad Santa or even a horror movie?
No.
Like where you're trapped as a Santa Claus and you're trying to get out of it?
No, but I really want to watch Bad Santa now. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And drink.
So if we were to add up our combined Shat scores of 2.5 for Gene, 2.5 for me, and 2 wipes for Big D, what is that overall Shat score, Gene?
Raj, that overall Shat score is just above average at 2.3 repeating wipes for the Santa Claus.
And Big D, if we were to compare that against the other movies we've done here in the pantheon of Shats, where does that rank the Santa Claus?
So that would tie the Santa Claus in the 68 spot with Rocky IV, Point Break, Casino, Demolition Man, The Money Pit, and Bram Stoker's Dracula. But more importantly, which everyone out there is probably wondering, where does this rank in our history of Christmas movies? So this is Christmas movie number 9. They start out from the worst: A Christmas Story, Jingle All the Way, Christmas Vacation, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Santa Claus, Home Alone, Gremlins, Scrooged, and the best Christmas movie we've done was Die Hard. So I think at number 5, The Santa Claus fits in right in the middle. Like you said, it's average, but it did make me feel good after watching it.
I mean, I'm not upset with that ranking score when compared to the other holiday movies we've done. I mean, again, I think Christmas Vacation is slightly better than this one, but I wouldn't be opposed to having it in the background on Christmas Day. All right.
I would put Nightmare at the bottom. Or just off the fucking list. It's a Halloween movie. There you go.
Exactly.
Well, now it's time for the podcast where we read our shout outs. Unlike last year, where they all piled up and we had to do a Christmas Gene video. We're not going to do that this year because we've been diligent with our shout outs.
Yeah, goddammit, we're right on top of it. We only have about a dozen this time. They have gotten really weird, though. We're venturing into like naming horses at horse races territory. The first shout out comes from Shat The Movies sister podcast, Shat on TV, Game of Thrones at gotpodcast@gmail.com. The next shout out goes to See Me Now, followed by Jonathan Preston. A shout out to Audrey, Jacob from Melbourne, Gene Lyons 2.0, Joe Forget, not like the lack of memory, French origin, Becky, Fair Dinkum Aussie Bloke. I'm sure I just said something horrible in a different language. Super Frankie Lampard, Big Luscious Aaron, NSP Aaron's best buddy, and my beautiful woman Danielle, the wedding planner Swanson. Also, Big Daddy NSP Aaron and his sexy blonde, the perfect woman Bridget, Dark Stan, Leo the good German Lout, Tor, and Thomas Moe would love to see Best of the Best reviewed one day. Again, if you would like to hear your name on the podcast, just go to shatthemovies.com, go to the shout out section anywhere on the site, or go directly to shatthemovies.com/shoutouts and you can get your name on the podcast for free. Back to you, Raj.
And Big D, in addition to the shout outs that Gene just read, we also had a couple voicemails. If you want to call in, we also have a dedicated voicemail hotline, which is 914-719-SHAT, 914-719-SHAT. We have 2 voicemails today as well. Is that right, Big D?
Yes, we have actually a couple that we're going to spread out over the next couple of weeks. But come on, you guys, you're okay putting in your shout outs with all these crazy names. Man up, pick up the phone. Let's hear your voice. It's easy to just type something. Let's hear you say it with your own words. So Aaron, I think, who had a shout out in there, Big Aaron, he also called in. So let's hear what he had to say.
Hey guys, this is Aaron. I left you a shout out for Big Daddy Aaron, NSP, and Bridget, my girl. And I got my buddy listening to you guys, and that's Big Luscious A. He's Big Aaron. And his girlfriend, Danielle. I just got to tell you, I live out in Minnesota, and I have everybody listening to you out here. You guys are the most hysterical thing I have ever heard. I ate some mushrooms the other night, and I'm telling you, my girl was like, what is wrong with you? I had tears in my eyes. I could not stop laughing. I work 14-hour days, 5 days a week, and I listen to your guys' podcast over and over and over. I've listened to every episode at least 10 times. And I just want to say, keep up the good work. I was in a really down kind of place, and listening to you guys really brought me up, cheered me up. So definitely keep up the good work. I will be commissioning something soon. I just want to find something that's so ridiculous. And it's not about money, so if you guys think the movie's awful that I want to commission, I'll just pay you more. But definitely, keep up the good work. All of you guys. Love it. Peace.
I'll sell out.
Well, yeah, Aaron's working all those hours. He's got the fucking big bucks. Aaron, first of all, thank you. You make America great. You're fucking fantastic. I want you to email us at hosts@shatthemovies.com. Pick out anything you want from the Shat shop at shatthemovies.com/shop. And I will personally, this is not coming out of the Shat account.
Fund?
This is coming from me. I'm buying you whatever the hell you want. That was an amazing voicemail.
I'll throw in on that. I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. I wonder if our show is infinitely better on mushrooms.
Oh, everything is better on mushrooms. Like, everything.
Like, what visualizations do you think he sees when he hears our voices?
I don't know, but thank you very much, Aaron, for calling. We're glad we can make your day better. We got also one more call that we're going to do this week, and it came from one of our longtime listeners, Matt.
Aloha, shit flick. This is Matthew Ilda, but my friends call me Matt. You could call me some of a long-time listener. I knew Roger back when he was Regina. Congratulations on staying true to yourself, Raj. I've been wanting to commission a movie, but I keep spending my disability check on Smoker's Choice and sending my sister child support, even though I never see my nephew son. Someday, I'll collect enough Social Security checks from my mom to commission the first government-funded Shat the Flex show, and it will be a sight to see. Anyway, happy holidays. I hope y'all crack open a cold Milwaukee's Best and have a good time. I'm going to go smoke meth. I'll see y'all.
We just recorded an hour of this podcast where I thought we were pretty funny. And then these calls make me, I'm just like, I'm not funny at all.
No, that last voicemail it was like an onion. There were so many layers to it. I had transitioned from a female into a man where my previous name was Regina. He married his sister and he pays child support for his nephew son. That's what he calls him, his nephew son, even though he's never really seen him. And he's spending all of his welfare checks on what? Is it the child support?
Choice.
Or Smoker's Choice.
Support.
That's what he's,
yeah.
There you go. And then he's going to go smoke some meth. So, I mean, yeah. Go to the store and pick something out, good sir. And I'll send you something.
Did he call us shit clits?
No.
Shat the flicks. Shat flicks.
Oh,
don't overthink it. I don't know what he said.
I just like that they're scripting out their voicemails now.
Yep.
Are they?
So you say that was like a bad improv? Bad, just picked up the phone. Well, that's all the voicemails for this episode, Big D. But again, if you want to call in, that phone number once again is
914-719-SHAT.
Thank you, Gene. Big D, what movie are we're going back to our support commissions? And what movie are we going to be doing? I'm going to be in Florida for the holidays. I'll come over. We'll record this together.
Well, that's cool. So after you go to meet your girlfriend's parents, you're going to come back to Florida?
Yeah, I'm going to Kewanee, Illinois.
All right.
And then I'm taking her to Ormond Beach, Florida, and then we're going to go to Miami. She's going to meet the Roper clan.
Ooh. It's a big week, huh?
I'm going to bring her over for the recording, and she can hang out with Vanessa and Emma while we record.
That could be dangerous, but I like it.
You like her.
I agree. I like her. I'm surprised she's with you. I like her. Yeah. Yeah. So when you come down, you have to remember to bring your trucker's hat and your tank top, because we are doing a movie that tells the tale in which a truck driver with a lucrative side gig in arm wrestling takes his estranged 12-year-old son on the road after the boy's mother falls seriously ill. We got another divorced dad. The trucker is beginning to reach out to the boy as the pair are headed to Vegas for the Arm Wrestling World Championship. But the lad's wealthy, unfeeling grandfather sends his thugs to put a stop to the bonding and bring the boy back. This was commissioned by Fabian N. It was released in 1987. It was a screenplay by Sylvester Stallone and Sterling Slippant, and it made $16 million at the box office, and it is epic. If you were alive in the 80s, you've seen this movie.
Yeah, again, I don't know if you guys are purposefully trying to make me miss my father during the holiday season, but this was another movie that I would watch with my dad because he's a truck driver. Yeah. All right.
Did he have one of those ropes in the cab where he would kind of?
Of course.
No, where he would practice doing like his arm wrestling.
Oh, he had the thing. He had the hand thing too, where he would just work on that. You know what I'm saying? The grip.
I do.
You got to work on the grip.
People can't see what you're doing.
No, it's a visual. It's not a visual meeting. We haven't set up our YouTube channel.
I also want to point out that the music by Giorgio Moroder. The synth community will be very pleased.
No.
I feel like Sylvester Stallone is a big fan of the synth community, right?
How could you not be?
Right. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle at Shat the Movies. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Shat the Movies. Our website is shatthemovies.com. You can email us your suggestions or just to connect with us at hosts@shatthemovies.com. You can donate and support your hard-earned dollars by going to our website and clicking on that support page. There's a full instructions on how to commission a movie if you so choose. And we do take PayPal, Venmo, or you can shop on our Amazon affiliate link. There's also a survey link there that, yes, we would love to be sponsored, but we need your voice. It doesn't cost you anything. They don't ask for personal information. They just want to know your feedback on which advertisers would be great. So if you really want to hear us do mid-rolls and put our own Shat twist on it, please fill out that survey. You can find us everywhere, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to stop by iTunes and leave a 5-star review. That really does help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. You can find all the information on that website, shatontv.com. Also, check out our shop. Lots of great designs. You can find that on our merch link on the website. Use the promo code SHAT20 to save 20% off on behalf of my co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene Papagigio Lyons. I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for the following commission review. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Good night and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
What are the odds on Lincoln Hawks pitching?
20 to 1, pal. Real long shot.
Locks? Let's go.
The world meets nobody halfway. Remember that.
I don't have a father, sir.
The world has always bet against Lincoln Hawks.
This guy's nothing.
Why'd you leave us?
It won't happen again.
I want my grandson found. I don't care how you do it. Do it.
But a winner never listens to the odds.
Whatever happens, I want you to stay with him.
Where'd we end up?
Together is all I can guarantee. You ain't got a prayer in Vegas.
You never had anything, so you have nothing to lose.
All I want to do is hurt him, cripple him, get him off the table.
All I care about is you. You're my boy, do you understand?
It won't beat nobody halfway. Now is the time to do for yourself.
I'm all you.
Over the top, Dad! Over the top!
Sylvester Stallone, Over the Top.